Hi, I'm Matthew and this is my introduction to the vinyl community. Now, all those people that post up on the Facebook page might recognise me, as I've been posting on there for a number of years, maybe one or two possibly, but I haven't, this is the first time I've actually got around to actually making some videos, and well, mainly because I've got a new camera and I want to test it out. But yeah, so starting off about how I got into vinyl. Even though I've always sort of looked around record stores, even sifting through the vinyl racks when I didn't have a turntable, it wasn't until about 4 years ago when I discovered this album, Hot Rats. And I really want to get this on vinyl because the CD at the time, which was before they started re-releasing them in about 2012, the CD was dreadful. It was remixed. I mean, sort of Little Umbrellas sounds completely different on the remix, and there's all sort of subtle things on there. You know, I've got both versions. I've still got the old CD of it, even though it's not as good as the original. And then I started collecting more of Zappa's stuff because some of his other albums also sound dreadful on CD. Ruben and the Jets is one. It sounds like the audio equivalent of someone scribbling a mohawk on the Mona Lisa. You get all these sort of 80s sounding instruments on a record that was recorded in the late 60s. It sounds absolutely dreadful, but on vinyl it sounds much better. Then I kept on coming across records which are impossible to find on CD or long out of print, and the only example I could think of is this one, the debut album, the debut solo album by John Fogerty, which has got rocking all over the world before Status Quo covered it. And yeah, it's not a bad album. It's not on the par with stuff he did with Creedence, but yeah, you cannot find that album on CD. You know, it's up 30 quid or more. You know, I like the album, but I wouldn't pay that amount. So I usually found having a turntable was a handy thing to have, and so I have a pile of a few sort of albums that sort of albums from artists I collect a lot, and start off with, they're all muddled up, but one thing I'm into collecting is sort of 80s alternative rock, and I've got a few here. Yeah, just sifting through them. There. So I've got This Good Do. I've got nearly all their albums except for the first one, which is a live album, which sounds absolutely awful. It sounds like it was recorded in the toilets. It's a live album. Minutemen, really don't have enough of their albums. I only have two. A really good group. Very sort of very much an acquired taste. You know, listen to this for the first time, it's almost like, as I once actually said to Mike, what I described it as the sort of punk rock Trackmaster replica. It's one of those albums that you really have to listen to on vinyl, sort of digest it, a side at a time, because it's really is very overwhelming. Yeah, Dinosaur Jr., You're Living Over Me, got all their albums on vinyl. Really love all their stuff, and I'm an absolute fanatic. And I have two copies of this one. well, I'm hogging them. The Replacements. This one, I have all their sort of major label albums, but their earlier stuff like Let It Be, Hootenanny, and the first one, Sorry Man, I forgot to take out the trash I don't have, thanks to the fact that they're extremely expensive. Yeah, the band I collect is X, LA punk band. Yeah, I bought Los Angeles for £10, really cheap, and I didn't really listen to it until I was going to sell it off, but I listened to it and it really, really grew on me. I mean, I have most of their albums, and except I have one or two. There's one or two which I don't own. The last one they did, and the one they did after Under the Big Black Sun, which I can't remember the name of it. Captain Beefheart. I bought this album despite not being entirely sure whether I enjoy it or not, but I really like most of Captain Beefheart's other albums. Really like sort of Lick My Decals Off Baby and Clear Spot, and the last three records are big favourites. Generally, if something has Etta James written on, I tend to buy it. Like this sort of reissue of Rocks a House. I bought it and it says on blue vinyl, but take this out. It doesn't look very blue. In fact, it's so dark it could almost pass for black. But I've got loads of other stuff of hers, you know, stuff I found in charity shops. I found a couple of her albums in charity shops, and I've got sort of like an expensive audiophile pressing of At Last. What else? Occasionally I listen to a bit of rap music, hip hop. Not always crazy about it, but occasionally there's been maybe one or two periods of time where I've just bought everything and anything. This album of Kendrick Lamar is possibly one of my favourite hip hop albums of the last couple of years. Really up there with sort of all the early Jay-Z albums and early Nas, Dr. Dre, you name it. I think Dr. Dre actually makes an appearance on this one. Yeah, on last track, last two tracks on the last side. Well, no, first two tracks on the last side. Now, I like listening to a lot of soul music. Most of it's not on vinyl, most of it's on CD. I went through a massive Otis Redding phase, and I ended up buying it mostly on CD, only because I could get all of his albums in a short space of time. But I do plan to get some of his albums on vinyl eventually. I passed on a couple when I was in Bristol last, but yeah, it is one that I collect on vinyl. Al Green. I actually haven't listened to this record in a while, but it's got some of my favourite tracks, like Georgia Boy, Loving You, Feels Like Summer. Yeah, I'm gonna dust that one off and listen to it. Oh, right. Yeah, another band that I've been a completist of in the past, but yeah, again, I've given up a bit. The Velvet Underground. I was really annoyed when Universal decided to re-release this on CD, like, is a box set where 3 CDs and it costs 50 quid. You know, I'm not paying that. I love this album, really do, but it drives me up the wall that they're charging something like that for 3 CDs. And it's annoying that the cut down version they're selling doesn't include the mono version, which I always like to have, but it's a shame they didn't release. Well, the only way you can get the mono version is buying the box set via Sundays, which unfortunately I don't have enough money for. So yeah, a couple other artists that I'm into, but I really don't. I should probably try and get more of. Talk. I have the last 3 albums. I've been thinking of getting the first 2 just to say I have all the albums on vinyl. And this one is actually an original. Yeah. Just showing this off to make people jealous. But it's not in the best of shape, you know. You know what Talk records like, especially the late period ones, you know. If they're in VG plus condition, that means they sound like shit. But this is probably one of the most difficult albums to get into. You know, it's I'm still not sure if I like it, but I eventually got into Spirit of Eden recently, and I've thoroughly enjoyed that record. So maybe one day I'll get into this one. But yeah, and another one that I never see in the wild. Well, I very rarely see Soft Machine. Their first 4 albums are absolutely brilliant, but this one is the best, in my opinion. It's a double album, 4 sides, sort of 18 minutes long, and they're sort of long, sort of bit jazzy, a bit sort of Terry Riley-ish music. Definitely one of my favourite albums. Last but not least, Perubu. I have all their albums on CD mostly, but I've sort of started on the vinyl. You know, I've like passed on quite a few of their albums on vinyl, which something that needs to be sorted out, really. You know, I've come across sort of mint copies of their debut. And again, I've interviewed Dave Thomas twice, and he's known for being a very, very sort of prickly character, very cantankerous, but no, I had no problems with him, and maybe it's because I was sort of asking him intelligent questions, although not sure on that one. And that's about it. Yeah, this has been my introduction to the vinyl community, and I hope to get the chance to post up some more videos in the future, although I'm not buying vinyl as frequently as I used to. But hopefully that'll change. Thanks. Bye.